Sure enough, there was their caravan, parked behind the establishment, guarded by a few private Bassai hunt hands. Beside them, travel hands, hired desert immigrants to the mainland judging by their complexions, what the Bassai would refer to as low brown for how light and lowly it was, unpacking busily for an overnight stay and unsaddling the camels so they could drink. There were no layers of dust on anyone yet, so clearly they were northbound. "A drink, ma." Okey looked up at the housekeep, who had come over, wringing his hands in a rag. She could see little of his face, but she had been here twice before and knew enough of what he looked like. "Palm wine and jackalberry with ginger," she said, hiding her hands. The housekeep stopped short. "Interesting choice of drink." He peered closer. "Have you been here before?" He enunciated the words in Savannah Common in a way that betrayed his border origins. Okey's eyes scanned him and decided he was asking this innocently. "Why do you ask?" "You remember things as a housekeep," he said, leaning back on a nearby counter. "Especially drink combinations that join lands that have no place joining. Consider it an acquired taste," Okey said, and looked away, signaling the end of the discussion. But to her surprise, the man nodded at the group far away and asked in clear mainland common, "You with them?" Okey froze. He had seen her complexion then, and knew enough to know she had mainland origins. What had always been a curse for Okey back when she was a mainlander, too light, is she punished by Manai? People would ask her da, had become a gift in self-exile over the border. But there were a few people with keen eyes and ears who would every now and then recognize a lilt in her Savannah Common, or note how her hair curled a bit too tightly for a desert lander, or how she carried herself with a smidgen of mainlander confidence. There was only one way to react to that, as she always did whenever this came up. "What?" she frowned. "Sorry, I don't understand that language." The housekeep eyed her for another moment, then went away. Okey breathed a sigh of relief. It was of the utmost importance that no one knew who she was and what she was doing here, living in the Savannah Belt. Because the history of the Savannah Belt was what it was, a tiny enough number of people who originated from this side of the Soki border looked just a bit like she did. Passing as one was easier once she perfected the languages. Thank Moon she had studied them as a scholar in Bassa. She drank slowly once the housekeep brought her order, and she put forward some cowries, making sure to add a few pieces to clearly signal she wanted to be left alone. Halfway through her drink, she realized her contact was running late. She looked outside again. The sky had gone cloudy, and the sun was missing for a while. She went back to her drink and nursed it some more. The men in the room rose and went up to be shown to their rooms. Okey peeked out of the curtain again. The travel hands were gone. One hunt hand stood and guarded the caravan. One stood at the back door to the caravansary. The camels still stood there, lapping water. Okey ordered another drink and waited. The sun came back out. It was past an hour now. She looked out again. The camels had stopped drinking and now lay in the dust, snoozing. Something was wrong. Okey got up without touching her new drink, put down some more cowries on the counter in front of the housekeep, and walked to the front door of the caravansary. On second thought, she turned and went back to the housekeep. "Your alternate exit, show me." The man pointed without looking at her. Okey took it and went around the building, evading both the men and the animals. She eventually showed up to where she had left her own animal, a quagga, a striped beauty with tiny horns. She untied and patted it. It snorted in return. Then she slapped its hindquarters and set it off on a run, barking as it went. She waited for a moment or two, then dashed away herself. Going through a secluded route on foot while trying to stay as nondescript as possible took a long time. Okay.